Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel Cells and Genes. So today we'll discuss about the titration curve of amino acids. So before we go into titration curve, let me discuss about Zwitter ion. I have discussed in detail about Zwitter ion in my previous video. So if you have not watched it, please do watch it and hear this lecture. Okay, we know that Zwitter ion, it is in a dipolar state. It has both positive and negative charge. And at very low pH, it will act as a proton acceptor. Okay, it will act as a proton acceptor. And at very high pH, it will act as a proton donor. And here at very low pH, the net charge is equal to, plus 1. Here we could see NH3 plus. So here it is plus 1. And at very high pH, the net charge is minus 1. Okay. Here the net charge is equal to minus 1. And Zwitter ion has no charge. So net charge is equal to 0. Okay. So here we have net charge is equal to 0 for Zwitter ion. So we say that pH at which an amino acid act as a Zwitter ion. Okay. As a Zwitter ion, that pH is known as isoelectric point. It is known as isoelectric point or isoelectric pH, and it is represented by Pi. Now considering the relation between the pH and Pi. So Pi is the isoelectric point. So if the pH is lesser than Pi, that is if the Pi value is more, then the net charge would be positive 1. Okay, and that time it acts as a proton acceptor. And now the second condition, if the pH is equal to Pi, then the net charge is equal to 0. It will be 0 and it will act as a Zwitter ion. And now the pH value is higher when OH minus concentration is more in the solution. So pH will be higher than the Pi value. Then it will act as a proton donor. That is, the NH3 plus has donated one of its proton to the solution. So it becomes NH2 and the net charge becomes negative. So pH is more than Pi. The net charge is equal to minus 1. So the dissociable alpha carboxylic group and alpha amino group, they are responsible for two characteristic pK values. Okay, that is pK1 for alpha carboxylic group and pK2 for alpha amino groups. So this is shown here. This is the pK1 value and this is the pK2 value. That is the dissociation constants. Okay, that are the dissociable group. They exhibit two characteristic values for pK. Okay. So if an amino acid have a third dissociable group, okay, they have a third dissociable group in its side chain, that is in the R group, it can be exhibited as pKr. So the third dissociable group, it can be the pK value can be designated as pKr for the third dissociable group in an amino acid. However, pK values, they are dependent on the temperature, ionic strength, microenvironment of the ionizable group. So here we could see it is a reversible reaction. So the arrows are on both sides. It's a reversible reaction. That means if here in the low pH the H plus is more, it will act as a cation. Okay, it will act as a cation. And if it is OH minus. If OH minus is more, it will act as a Zwitter ion. Similarly, here is also the reversible reaction, that is, if OH minus, okay, if OH minus is more, it will act as an anion, and here if the H plus is more, it will act as a sweeter ion. So as we talked about the pK value, and what is pK? pK is the dissociation constant. Okay, it is a dissociation constant, that is negative log of acid dissociation constant, that is pK. Okay, that is the pK value. Now we would see how we use this pK value for the titration curve of an amino acid. Okay, how we use it in titration curve. So we would see how we use this pK values, that is pK1 for alpha carboxylic group. Here the alpha carboxylic group is protonated over here, so they will lose when the pK value, it is for carboxylic group, and the pK2 value is for the amino group. So we will see how we use it in the titration curve. Now let us look into the titration curve of glycine. So we have in the burette, suppose consider it as an experiment, we have a beaker containing glycine, and in the titration we have in the burette we have the sodium hydroxide solution. So we'll gradually add sodium hydroxide to the beaker containing glycine, and we'll check the pH at which it will act as a sweeter ion. So we'll carry out the experiment. And acid, in general, acid base titration, it involves the gradual addition or the removal of, it involves the addition or removal of protons. Okay, it involves the addition or removal of protons. So here the plot, it has two distinct stages, and it shows the diprotic form of glycine. It shows the diprotic form of glycine and has two distinct stages. So what happens here is the deprotonation of two different groups, the amino group and the carboxyl group. The deprotonation of two different groups on glycine occurs. So looking, this is the pH, and this is the OH minus equivalence. So at very low pH, we could go into the equation. At very low pH, the amino acid is in the fully protonated form, that is NH3 plus. Okay, it is in the fully protonated form. So what happens at the midpoint? So we are titrating, and at the midpoint of the titration, so this is here we are adding sodium hydroxide, and at the midpoint at 0.5 OH minus equivalent is 0.5. So at the midpoint of the titration, what happens? That is in the first stage of titration, here the carboxylic group of glycine, okay, the carboxylic group of glycine, they will have a proton. It will act as a it will lose its proton. Okay, it will lose its proton, and it will have an equimolar concentration of proton donor and a proton acceptor. They will have an equimolar concentration of proton donor and proton acceptor species are present. So at the midpoint of titration, here the pH, okay, the pH is equal to pK1, and it is 2.34 for the carboxylic group. pH at the midpoint is 2.34. Thus its carboxylic group has, so here the carboxylic group, okay, the carboxylic group has the pK1 2.34. And here in the second stage, okay, this is the second stage where there is a removal of proton from the amino group. Okay, there is a removal of proton from the amino group of this amino acid glycine, and the pH at the midpoint, okay, the pH at the midpoint, what happens? The pH at the midpoint is 9.6, which is equal to the pK of the amino group. Okay, it is equal to the pKa group of the pKa for the amino group. So here it is the midpoint where the pH is equal to pK2. So here the titration is complete almost at pH 12, and here the molecule of this amino acid, it will bear a net negative charge, because we could see that both the functional groups are deprotonated. Okay, both functional groups are deprotonated in this pH. pH is equal to almost 12. So in the midway of titration, or in the midway between the two pK values, that is pK1 and pK2, so there is a point, at which the pI or the pH value is equal to 5.9. Here the average net charge is equal to 0. So the charge over here is equal to 0, and this point is known as isoelectric point. So this point is known as isoelectric point, or the pI, where the amino acid exists as an Zwitter ion, where the charge is equal to 0. So from this titration curve of glycine, or titration curve of glycine, what it gives, that it gives the quantitative measures. Okay, it gives the quantitative measures of pKa for each ionizing group. Okay, it gives the quantitative measures of the two ionizing groups, carboxylic group and the amino group. There are two quantitative measure values for the pKa. So here it is 2.34. The pK1 value, it is 2.34 for the carboxylic group, and it is 9.6 for this amino group. So another information which is provided from this titration curve of glycine is that it has like two regions of buffering power. Okay, one of this is a flat portion of the curve. So here it's a flat portion of the curve. Looking to the pK1 value of this amino acid, so there is a two regions on either side of this pK1, which extends from almost the pH is equal to 1. There is a flat portion of the curve which indicates that it is a good buffer near this pH. The other buffering zone is centered at this pK value, which is equal to 9.6. The other point is that the titration curve also predicts the electric charge of an amino acid, can predict the electric charge of an amino acid. So from here we could find out the relationship between, okay, we can find out the relationship between the net electric charge and the pH of the solution. Okay, we could find out the relationship between this electric charge and the pH of solution. So at this pH 5.97, the amino acid glycine is in dipolar ion state, that is, it is in its Zwitter ionic state, and it has no net charge. The net charge is equal to 0. Okay, and that is why it has been designated as pI, that is, it is the isoelectric point of glycine, that is 5.97. It is isoelectric point where the net charge of amino acid glycine is equal to 0. So we could calculate the isoelectric point pI, okay, as it has no ionizable group in its side chain. We can calculate by simple arithmetic mean, that is half into the values of pK1 plus the values of pK2, that is half into 2.34 for pK1, and it is 9.60 for pK2, 9.60 for pK2, and we get 5.97 as the pI value, which is the value over here in the graph. So this is the isoelectric point for glycine, the simplest amino acid without no ionizable group in its side chain. So it is this equation that we have to remember while calculating the pI value of simple amino acid, or the amino acids without ionizable group in its side chain.
So this is the end of today's class. I hope you understood it. If you like my video, please hit the like button and do share my video, and also subscribe to my channel for future updates. Thank you so much.